People always asking, well, how did you start your podcast? How did you get started? How did you get your podcast in all these different outlets? The answer is Anchor. I use Anchor. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free. It's easy to use, and it can match you now with a great sponsor who wants to advertise with your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now with this ad. I'm getting paid. It's easy to use. Just go to your Google store, download Anchor, or you go to your iTunes, download Anchor, and it's completely free. No excuses, family. The power of ownership. Take the power in your hand. Start doing. Stop watching. Start doing. Peace. All right. Let's go. All right. Peace to the family. This is Brandon B. Dixon, and you're joined into the Power of Ownership podcast. I got my guest host, Barry Bolston, here. He's a realtor in Houston. Barry, go ahead and say hello to everybody.
Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Barry Bolston, Houston, Texas realtor. How's everybody doing out there?
Right, and we're in 2022 version of the Power of Ownership podcast. This is the relaunch. We're just starting off a little like a soft launch here. We're going to eventually, probably by the summer, get back into the video and stuff like that. Let's get through the introductions and everything like that. Let's reintroduce the podcast. We're going to reintroduce ourselves, and we'll go from there. I'll start with me. My name is Brandon B. Dixon. I'm a published author, serial entrepreneur, mortgage broker. My book, Sales, the Nucleus of Any Profession, is out right now. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, et cetera, et cetera. Get you a copy of that right now. Also, right now is mortgage season, so now it's the busy season. If you want to get a mortgage, go ahead and apply it on my website, www.applywithb.com. That's where you can go ahead and fill out the digital application. I'll get back with you, get you pre-qualified, so on and so forth. Also, if you want to book me for any sales training, any mentorship, any coaching advice, you can go to www.billionaireloanofficer.com. You can go right there and click the link, schedule, and we can go from there. Also, the Cash App, you can go to $, the Power of Ownership. If you like what we're doing, you want to contribute to the podcast, go from there. And then you can always call me, 832-775-8357. I'm available 24/7. Barry, go ahead and introduce yourself, tell them where they can find you, so on and so forth.
All right, this is Barry Bolston, real estate agent with Keller Williams Professionals here in Houston, Texas. You can come to me at Facebook, Homes by Barry B. You can see me on IG. I have Spring Homes by Barry B. My website is homesbybarryb.com, so you can come there. If you want to look for a home, you can do that. If you have any questions, you just fill out the contact and it'll come to me. If you are thinking of selling a home, I also have a website called freehomevalue.net. You can put in information about your home, and we'll give you a little evaluation of what your home could sell for in today's market. My number is 713-530-0279. I'm at Barry at kw.com. Also, I have a YouTube channel, Barry Bolston, the real estate agent. So come and subscribe. I'm going to have a lot of good information on there for you that'll help you in this process.
Gotcha. All right. So for those who tuning in the first time and has never tuned into the podcast before, the Power of Ownership podcast, we usually talk about ownership, home ownership, as well as ownership of businesses, intellectual properties, so on and so forth. But we've expanded. Not only we talk about those things, we talk about ownership of the mind, body, and soul. So we kind of bridge the gap between both. So, we let you know how to manifest things in this physical plane by having a strong root in an invisible plane, So it kind of bridges the gap between both things. So we kind of dig a little bit deeper. We don't just give you tips of, how to own a home. That gets kind of redundant and boring. But we kind of dive a little bit deeper, a little bit of philosophy here, a little bit of psychology. We get into a little bit of it all. So let's dive into, I don't want to keep y'all too long this Sunday, but let's go ahead and dive into our first topic here. and this is going to be a big one because it's what's going to be the trend this year. And the reason why it's going to trend that way this year is because of I don't want to say post-pandemic, but we're getting to the point where we're out of the pandemic at its peak. We're out of the pinnacle of the pandemic procedures, should I say? Is that safe to say that we kind of?
Yeah, those 2 years it's been 2 years, and we're starting to come out of the woods now. The numbers are going down. People are coming outside, and we're enjoying outside now. People are starting to get out and enjoy everything now. Since we've been locked up for a year and a half or 2 years.
Right. So with that being said, what they did for the pandemic, these record high printing money and the actual record low of interest rates to stimulate the economy, to keep the economy going in this particular crisis, that has to come to an end. And the economy has to regulate itself. It has to cleanse itself. It has to restart. It has to refresh. So that's what we're about to go through this year. Is going to be some of those pains of getting back to normalization, getting back to a normal economy. And they're trying to do it without going in a recession, but most likely we will hit a recession. So what does that mean to most people? That most people, it's like when you diet or when you fast from water or whatever, as soon as you start drinking water, your body's going to retain water because it went through a shock. Same thing with this economy. It went through a shock. So as soon as we start inflating rates back and we start fixing things, it's going to bounce back quickly, to try to recover from some of the lost money that it had. So with that being said, the rates are scheduled actually to go through 3 hikes this year. And what we want to talk about is first-time home buyers is going to be the actual people that's actually going to be buying. Most people, took advantage of the record lows, so what's going to be left this year is going to be a lot of first-time home buyers that's, tired of renting and actually, want to get, finally got everything together and want to go ahead and become a homeowner. And then you're going to have a lot of people that's in a financial situation that want to cash out refi. So it's still going to be a seller's market this year. It's still going to be difficult, multi-bids, probably towards the end of this year. But it's going to start slowing down because the rates are going to go high. So what we want to talk about is first-time home buyers. How do, especially in our community, how do you protect yourself from going catatonic, from not taking action, from weathering through all of these obstacles to get to what you need to get to your actual goal of home ownership? How do you stay steadfast and stay on your journey with all of these elements, in your face? So I'll go ahead and open that up to you, Barry, and then I'll chime in after that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is what do you need to do? I know people are scared. They don't like renting. They want to own something, but you don't know. And that's one thing that this podcast does, and we need to do it in our community, is get the information out to our people to let them know what they need to do or what can be done so they can live a better life for them and their family. So we are going to talk about some of those fears that we have or that people have. And I had it when I bought my first house over 20 years ago. And I know that one of those fears is money. A lot of people think that they need to have this large sum of money, $20,000, $30,000 to buy a home, and that's not true. So we want to get into some of the things that you need that are out there for you as a first-time home buyer, because there are definitely programs that will help you become a first-time home buyer. You don't need $20,000 or $30,000 to buy a new home. So that is one fear that I see a lot. There's a couple other ones, but that's one of the big ones. Do I have enough money, or will I have enough money?
Right. Well, I think with money being, the circulation of money being at its all-time high that has been in history, I think we have a lot of money circulating around. So I think a lot of people are not, too much scared of money. It's something else. I know some people are, like some people, aren't educated at all, but a lot of people are versed in these first time home buyer programs. They don't know too much about them. They know that there are 100% financing. There are zero down programs. So it's other things as well. I think that's causing people to not move. And that's what I want to get to the bottom of on this show, because a lot of people know that it's 3.5% or a small percent down because their family members got into a house that they didn't need $20,000-$30,000 down. They got some down payment assistance, so they know those programs are out there.
Mm-hmm.
So what is stopping, especially in the black and brown community, what is stopping, them from go ahead and pulling the trigger, go ahead and stop renting it? What's some of the other concerns?
Maybe the fear of owning.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Go ahead and explain that.
Well, when you rent, if things are you have problems, you can always go to someone else. But when you own, everything is on you. Maybe it's the fear that I own this and it all depends on me, or something like that. What do you think?
I mean, that could be part of it. Like I said, a lot of people, and I talked about this on the program before, a lot of people are scared to win. They feel like they don't deserve to win. And a lot of people shy away from responsibility. So, yeah, that could be part of it. Like, hey, listen, now I'm responsible for the upkeep of this house. I'm responsible for the note. There is no more, messing around. Like, I can mess around with a landlord and skip a month, but you can't do that when you own. So it might be a growing pain for some people that have arrested development, like that don't want to grow out of, dodging their responsibility. So that might be part of it too. Like, some people might just be in arrested development. Some people like the teenage in the 20 years and they take that to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a possibility. They might feel like that while renting, that I don't have to be, take that adult move. I don't have as much responsibility. But at the same time, you don't see that money is being wasted. That money doesn't go towards, causing you any type of wealth or any generational wealth. So you pay a premium price for your lack of responsibility.
Yes, you do. Maybe they didn't, and maybe not understanding that owning, they have equity. They can get equity of their home, and their value or can increase. Home is the asset, and that's a big thing. Knowing assets and liabilities, things that will make you money and the things that won't.
Right. I think priorities might be, if you're talking about priorities, if you want to, that might be part of it as well, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't prioritize the future. A lot of people live in the now, and whatever feels good now, that's what they do. And they a lot of people don't think they'll get old, especially if you're in the 20s and the 30s, A lot of people just think they could, kick the can down the road. So, with that being said, is that, I know the parties and the clothes and the social life is sometimes trumps the actual, life planning and the family planning and stuff like that. So a lot of people put that on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Especially in our community. Now, I've seen the other communities that's different. It's ingrained in their community to do family planning from teenage years. All right, you're going to go to this college, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Everything's planned out a little bit better. But especially in our communities, I would say the black community especially is just random. It's kind of, let's wait and see. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, and you know what? When you talk about being ingrained in the community, I know when I was growing up, you don't talk that much about finances. We never talked about finances.
Right.
How your credit score, or how much you made, or your debt to income that we talk about now. That was never talked about.
Right.
I mean, you didn't find out. You didn't know about this. You didn't find out about it until you did try to apply for a mortgage.
Right.
Starting when you're younger. I mean, when I first went to college, I went to UT, and they were throwing credit cards at us like nothing. 18-year-old kids here. We don't even. I mean, you don't even need to know your name here. And so I never had that ingrained in me. This is how you save. This is how you spend. This is how you should do with money. And the next thing you know, you have all this debt on you, and you don't know how to manage it. And I think that was a good concept you talked about, being ingrained in the community. We need to ingrain financial responsibility in our kids, in our community.
Right. Well, it's easier said than done. Let me linchpin that, but I want to kind of add to piggyback what you're saying. It's like, yeah, we got more information on sports, or we got more information on gossip. We got more information on sex than actual finance. So this is what it is. I don't remember at all learning about how to actually own your own home. I don't remember at all. Somebody sitting me down and teaching me how to balance a checkbook. I don't remember at all anybody teaching me about investment or businesses, or even what's the difference between owning and renting a house. A lot of stuff was almost like the boogeyman never talked about. Mm-hmm. So it's just ingrained in our community to kind of, kick the can down the road again, and just not talk about it, then have you figure it out, and then and that's the thing is, like, I think is after we get to 20, 30 years old, maybe 40, is the peer pressure that kind of gets us in the market. Like, Dad, you still renting? For you got from everybody else, and that's what gets your curiosity and starting to want to own your own home. In most cases, some cases, you get married early or something like that, and the wife might want to own home. This depends on what type of family, but a lot of times it's just not talked about. A lot of times it's acceptable. It's not. They don't. And I want to get you to see if you agree on this. In our community, a lot of times there's no distinction between renting and owning, as long as you have your own place.
There you go. And I was thinking of that when you were talking earlier.
Right.
Because there's just a lot of people, the neighborhood where my grandmother they were living in homes, but I come to find out when I got older, they were renting these houses. They've been renting these houses for 20, 30 years.
Right.
So they don't own that house. They just been renting it.
Right. So there's no pressure. You don't know it, and you don't know the difference, especially if you didn't come up. You think a house is a house.
Yeah.
And there's no.
I can come in every day, and I can do what I want to do. I can paint it or whatever, but you don't own it.
Right. Right. And there's no, especially in our community, there's no distinction. There's no pressure. Like, hey, you got to own your own house. You can rent for. There's nobody sitting us down. There's no pressure. There's no. The thing about it, a lot of people learn through embarrassment. A lot of people learn through, putting it in their face. So there's none of that. It's either way you can hold your head up, whether you're renting or owning, because you got your own place. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the key problems, and that's why there's no pressure on trying to get to own. A lot of people, I'll keep renting till it magically happens for them.
Yeah. And I think that's what they think is going to happen. It's just going to happen, but, and that's one of the things about our community is we don't know. And so we have to educate our community on how the real world works and how you're going to get ahead. One thing that I've heard them talk about, like, is being producers and consumers.
Right.
You don't always want to be that consumer. You want to be a producer.
Right.
Not just, you want to owning, whether it's, your home, a business, you want to own.
Right. So, more fears, just getting back to it, more fears as well, is that I think we're, a lot of people are scared on making, the wrong decision. Meaning that they're scared to actually, they don't know too much about it. So instead of doing the research, they avoid it altogether. Which, makes
it's a big investment.
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, it's not like buying you bought a stereo, or well, not stereo, or if you bought, some furniture or something, and you don't like the furniture, you can always go and get some more, but it's not the same thing,
Well, it is kind of. I think we make too much of a big deal about this one thing. Now, some people will buy one time in their life, but most of the time, the average first-time home buyer stays in the house for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be your only house that you buy. I hope it's not. Hopefully, you buy multiple houses. But the thing is that when you learn how to swim, when you learn how to walk, when you learn how to ride a bike, did you shy away from actually riding a bike in order to learn?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, and this is crazy, I get this more in the mortgage end because people want to know everything about riding a bike before you actually ride the bike. And the best way you learn is actually getting on the bike and taking that first stumble or hitting that first rock.
Mm-hmm.
And so people do refuse to ride the bike, but they want to know everything about the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to commit. It's like, all right, so you're not gonna. The best way to learn about buying a house is actually buying a house.
That's true.
So
you learn everything about the finances real quick, and
exactly. So
mortgage insurance and the all your taxes and all that.
It's crazy that we'll do these payday loans. We'll do all these loans. Klarna. That's on, in a firm. We'll pay all these high interest credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
But we want a penny pinch, and we want to look around and I guess follow with the social norm to try to shop around and do all this. But when it comes to a house, you're scared to make that leap. Yeah, I mean, if your credit is less than perfect, yeah, you're gonna pay more than a person with 850 credit score, $100,000 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it is. I think we get a lot of times scared and catatonic to actually make a move because we don't want to make the wrong decision, but at least make a decision, learn from the first one, then go about it. You're not stuck. You can always refinance. You can always sell a house. You're always gonna buy another house.
Let me ask you this: do you think maybe the amount is what kind of freezes people?
Possibly, yeah. But they wouldn't have
$3,000 loan as opposed to a $200,000 house.
Possibly, but at the same, yeah, I can see that, but possibly, but at the same time, they won't hesitate to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on a car.
Yeah.
True. I was looking at a guy last night. I don't want to put nobody on blast, but they got these guys that's no credit check, no job. All you need is the ID and the cash money down. I'm looking at the type of car you put the third down. Of course they don't care. And then you're gonna probably put.
They coming to get it.
Yeah, and as soon as you miss the payment, they coming to get it. So, but we'll take a chance on the car as opposed to the house. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to the one I was talking about before. It's like there is no social pressure on renting versus owning in our community.
They don't know that it builds wealth, and that goes back to that education part. We have to educate our people.
Well, I look at it like this: in other communities, because I've been around other communities a lot, in other situations, making bad financial decisions is kind of looked down upon. In our community, is kind of expected. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I give you an example, like say for example, we'll rent and then we'll go 72 to 84 months on a car, and we're upside down on it. And in our community mind, he's doing well. He's got a house and a car.
Mm-hmm.
But other communities, they're gonna scratch beneath the surface, like, what's your interest rate on that house? Oh, you don't have interest? You're renting? Okay, scratch one. Why did you get $100,000 car if you're renting?
Mm-hmm.
There's these gatekeepers like, nah, that's not cool. You should, so there's not that social pressure there. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And a lot of people, especially like when you the example of cars, people are not looking at the car and the interest rate; they're looking at the payment.
Right.
So that's why these car deals. I mean, because when I first got my car, you couldn't get 84 months.
Right.
For what?
Right.
You'd be lucky if you get. I mean, if you got 48 months, was about the highest they were going. And, this is 30-something years ago. 48 was about the highest. Now you can get a car with 84 months, and so it makes the car payment look exciting to them, the people.
Right.
And so now I can go and buy that car that I shouldn't, and get it for 84 months. And you're gonna be upside down.
Right.
84. I'm like, oh my goodness, do you even understand that? I mean, you know what?
Right.
72 months, 84 months for a car.
Well, again, it's about it's priorities. That's it's about the look as opposed to actually the actual game itself, the actual winning the game. One of my favorite quotes of all time was "White Men Can't Jump." Woody Harrelson and I forgot his name. Wesley Snipes. Woody Harrelson told him, "Hey, that's the problem with y'all community is that y'all rather look good and lose than opposed to look bad and win." And that stuck with me. Like we rather look good and lose. We paying premium price for renting that we don't have any equity, but we look good. The house look good furniture in there, and then you're paying premium price for this car, $100,000 car, and you're paying $1,200, $1,500 a month for 84 months. But you look like you got it together. Mm-hmm. But you're losing the financial gain.
Because one hiccup and all of that's gone.
Right. And most likely you're going to, the statistics show that, especially if you're working, you're going to switch jobs. And if you're in your 20s, you're going to hit a hiccup. You got natural disasters. Look at the natural disasters. You got Harvey, you had the pandemic, you had Katrina.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a natural disaster that probably a hiccup that comes along. So,
look at all the people that got laid off when the pandemic.
Right.
That's probably making that big high car note for 84 months or whatever. And so now you get laid off like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's the thing. To expand further, let's talk about different other fears as well. One of the things I've noticed as well, especially in our community, we approach the situation in fear. So we go to the worst case scenario up front, the worry, meaning that, hey, what happens if I can't make the payment? I get this a lot as well. So my thing is this, like, what happens the same way if you can't make your rent payment? It's the exact same thing. You might get away with, actually, it'll take longer for you to get put out paying a note as opposed to renting. Renting, you got 2 months possibly, and then you're out of there. They can evict you.
Maybe 2 months.
Right. But you're going to, before they start foreclosure on a house, you're probably 6 to 8 months down the line. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. I guess it's the bright lights. It's it's the responsibility. But you don't look at it like that while renting. I guess they could figure they could just pack up and leave while renting or something to that effect. I guess you're more anchored.
Yeah, because when you're renting, you're it's not yours.
Right.
So if something does happen, you can run back to mama's or
right.
run whoever.
Right.
But if you're owning that house, you can run back to mama's, but they still coming to look for you.
Yeah, you're still responsible for that payment.
Yeah, you still responsible for that payment. With a lease. Yeah,
right.
I guess you can hightail it out of there, but
yeah, still either way, it's still gonna be on your credit report.
Yeah, they're gonna mess up. It's gonna mess up your credit.
Right.
So I think that's ownership and renting. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like if you don't, I see people that rent. It's like they take a different look at or outlook at things than somebody and that goes to what you were talking about. If I'm renting, this happens, I can just I can just do this,
But they're not looking at it as the same thing, possibly. Except on a bigger scale. And I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's both gonna wreck your credit. Both you're gonna have to move anyway. So why approach it with that mind frame?
And like you said, with and with at least with a mortgage, it ain't gonna be after 1 month.
Right. Right.
You know, if mortgage companies started foreclosing after 1 month, they spend all their time in paperwork.
Right.
So it's not gonna be after just 1 month of you missing your payment.
Right.
So you do have a little leeway, whereas those landlords, they want their money now.
Right. Exactly. Well, the thing is, I want to say this to the people that's listening, is that banks especially are not in the real estate business. They would rather get the money than to come and foreclose on you. Keep that in mind. So they do not want to be responsible for this piece of property. They would rather you pay the money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they don't want that house.
They do not want that house. So that contrary to popular belief, they want the money. They don't want the house. So
they're not gonna let you live there for free either.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so you got to be paying something. Yeah. So but make your payments. I mean, it's also just get something that you can afford. A lot of times, especially in our community, we become what's called house poor. We get the biggest, baddest on the block, and then there's no furniture in there, and you spend most of half of your pay on just the note itself. That's bad. So
I've seen a lot of that.
Right.
And then, some people have wised up and said, okay, well, maybe I need to get something smaller, or, and I need to get out of this bigger house. But some people, they try to hang on to it, like you say, trying to impress the Joneses.
Right.
And the Joneses not even paying attention to you.
Right, exactly. This is one thing I don't understand. I maybe I just think different. Maybe I'm just different, and nobody takes my advice on this. It's a twofold thing. It has to do with why, especially in our community, it has to be, the creme de la creme for your first house. And every other community is the opposite. They believe in what's called a starter house. Mm-hmm. And I've had so many people that throughout my 5 years of being in the mortgage game that, cause we got them pre-approved, but they want to go higher. They want to go more expensive. They want to go more extravagant. And I keep preaching to them, hey, listen, this is your first house. Once you get into it, build some equity. I'll give you an example, like right now. I just had a contract came in like late last night, early this morning. Woman I helped back in 2018. She got a house, and then it grew $100,000 in equity. So she sold a house just now, and she took him and got the house that she actually wanted, or close to the house that she wanted with the equity, almost $100,000 equity after the 2 years. Now, of course, this is a unique situation. We're coming off a pandemic and a big bubble, but that can happen where you have that money appreciate through a starter house. Mm-hmm. But we don't look at it like that. We got to have it now. What is the thing? We got to have it now to impress everybody. The house that I'm in right now is not the house that I wanted. It's a starter house. Mm-hmm. It's just... Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I deal with that also when I get someone that has a pre-approval for a certain amount, and I let them know. I say, you don't have to get that amount.
Right.
If it says you approved for $300,000, you don't have to get a $300,000 house.
Right.
We don't need to go look at $310,000 houses so you can say I want to bid $300,000. You can get a $250,000. You can get a $200,000. You can get $150,000, $180,000, $200,000. That's just saying in the most they'll get for you, and I think that goes a lot to what you said before. Well, trying to impress, and then I think that goes into our community. Impress people that's not even paying attention.
Right. My thing is this: the people that you're trying to impress, are they going to be there every first of the month when that bill is due and help you pay this thing?
Yep.
So, and a lot of times you're trying to impress these people. They again, like you just said, they don't give a damn about what you got. So. I mean, you got to do things within your means when you can afford them, and if you fast, if you abstain, just give it a little time, and then you could you can have it. I don't know why we always have to have things in our 20s or 30s. We got to have it now. You know, why not? You know, and most people, especially if you didn't come from a silver spoon, most people expect to enjoy things after, you know, or close to retirement, where after you work for it and build it up, especially after, you know, you got to have a 20, 30-year game plan. You can't just have everything right now. If it does come right now, most of the time it's going to come at a premium price.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you do it smart, a lot of times, if you do it smart and pragmatic, it's not attractive, it's not shiny, but it's the best economic way. If you do it slow and pragmatic, you know, and that's what we're afraid of. I don't know why. Again, it's keeping up with the Joneses is flexing. I never understood flexing. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And that's the same thing when you're talking about automobiles, but, you know, getting this $180,000, $100,000 vehicle to impress who? So you can drive down the street and impress who?
Right.
Because, you know, they're going to go back to their house and live their life.
Right.
They ain't worried about you.
Well, not only that is that we look foolish because most people that can afford those cars don't pay for those cars. You know, and that's probably another podcast is that, you know, most people, that's a tax write-off. Or either it's a tax write-off or their assets pay for that particular car. So they don't really pay for it. The assets that they have pay for it.
Yeah.
But if you have to work to pay for it out your paycheck, out of your active income instead of your passive income, that's foolish.
Yes, that's foolish.
You know, other than that, you should have just an A to B car. I understand that you want to enjoy the ride and all that stuff. That's cool. But at the same time, be pragmatic about it. You know, so we would rather do that instead of buying a house. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, I want to touch on one last part of this fear, then we can go ahead and wrap it up because we don't keep, you know, we like to end up at the 45-minute mark here. We're at the 36 right now. Just digging a little bit deeper, you know, a lot of people will use the raising, the interest rates rising as an excuse to go ahead and rent for another year. Or as an excuse, oh, well, the rates are too high. Let me go ahead and, let me get one thing straight here. The rates probably will never go back to the 2 and 3s anymore. If they do, this country's probably in trouble and about to collapse. So you got to get the 2s and 3s out of your mind. And then secondly, a lot of us don't have the perfect credit score, the 800 credit score to get the 2s and the 3s anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, so also let me tell y'all one other thing as well is that you control your interest rate. I don't know why we so miseducated on this particular subject that if you make one more payment or if you make more towards the principal every month, you knock down that interest rate. That interest rate is only if you make the minimum payment every month for 30 years.
Yeah.
If you pay more towards principal, you cannot be charged interest on money that you've already spent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why we get this confused all the time. It's like we want to get these rates and we see this stuff on TV and our profile doesn't fit that's on TV. You want to get somebody looking at the perfect scenario that they show on TV. A lot of people think, oh, I'm a 600 credit score. I'm entitled to that. No. So, and then if they can't get that, I'll rent another year. Don't forget that renting is 100% interest.
Yeah, because you're paying somebody else's.
Right. So so we're quarreling. We're going on, over these fractions of a point that you could control yourself because you can just pay more towards the principal.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff, these obstacles that we put is artificial. We put it in our, just to kind of get out of actually doing it.
Like we're talking ourselves out of it.
You talk yourself out of it because you really don't want to respond to your ability. You really don't want the responsibility. You're looking for an excuse, and all these excuses still not gonna help you. It's actually gonna hurt you. It's actually you're gonna be soon priced out of the market. This is one I wanted to talk to as well, especially those people that's on the edge of like you're right at 200,000, 215,000, 220,000. Pretty soon you're gonna be priced out of the market. Probably by the end of the year, that same house that you could have got at 215 you're not going to be able to afford because the rates are going to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, now you're going to have so many people that's bidding under that 250, unless you got cash or a conventional loan where you put 20% down, they're not even going to look at first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Because there's an inventory shortage. So pretty soon you're going to be priced out the market. You keep on waiting. And it's going to be to where you got to have 250 sales price, and at the same time you're gonna pay what you could have got a $300,000 house for the same thing you're gonna be paying $250 for by the end of the year.
And these people, they look at, okay, the rates are going, and they're not going to get as low as they were the last couple of years, but it's still low.
Right, it's still low, definitely.
It's still low.
Right.
So saying you're going to wait, what are you waiting for? It's not going to get lower.
Right. A lot of people.
When I bought my first house 20 years ago, the rate was 8.5%. That was the rate.
Right. Right. And that was in what? That was in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, that was it. I bought my first house in 2000, and the rate was 8.5%.
Right.
And that was the rate. I had decent credit, so it's not going to get. It's not going back down there.
Right.
The only thing it's going to do is go up. So you definitely need to.
Right.
Don't be scared of those rates going up.
When I purchased my house in 2014, I had damn near 800 credit score, and I got a 4.0. And that's what rates are currently right now, at 4.0 now, so it's kind of back to where it was 7-8 years ago. So, and that's still low. That's still, half of it.
It's still low.
It's still low. Yeah. And rates in the 80s and the 90s were like double digits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We had no problem with signing up for this 25% interest on this credit card.
Yeah.
But you're gonna cry about 1/4%, 1/8% on a house that you control.
Yeah.
Just pay more towards the principal that erase that.
It's not gonna get lower, so.
Right. So.
It's that time.
Right. Waiting is not.
That fear.
Yeah, waiting is not a good idea. Last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here. What is up with, especially our people, what up with these new homes that people pay premium prices for? I don't get it. They know perfectly. It's almost like McDonald's. These new houses are just like McDonald's. McDonald's say clearly on the drive-through window, this food may cause cancer. But yet there's still a line down the street. You know for a fact that this builder is gouging you. You're paying top dollar. And you getting this house built that's gonna take, gonna take 6 to 8 months, to actually pay for, and you're paying top dollar. You're paying Bentley prices for a Toyota.
Yeah, and I've had clients when they come to me, I want to look at new houses. I want to look at new construction. Why? Well, why you want to look at new construction? I'm like, all these homes that are built, and one of the main things is it's new. Nobody else has lived in it. That's usually what I'm hearing from them, and I'm like, that really doesn't matter. If we're going to get it inspected, and who's to say that these new homes are being built good? Because they slapping them up quick.
Right.
You can get a home 2 or 3 years old that's still that's in good condition, and you'll get a good price for it.
Right.
But yeah, these new homes, it's incredible, the prices. You see the prices, and it's like some people get brought back down to earth when they see the prices on these new homes. They're saying they want a new home until they see the price on them. It's like, yeah, well, we can go over here and get one that's 2 or 3 years old for $100,000 less.
Right. Well, not only that is that, just like cars, most of the time that new home you're paying so much at the top end for it is going to remain flat. It's not, most likely won't depreciate, but it's not going to get that jump that you would as opposed to a resale as far as equity, because you're coming in at the extreme top end, probably more than what it's worth anyway. They just appraise it because somebody else sold for that amount, but you paying premium price. You're paying whole food prices for it. You know, so number one. Then number two, it's like a car. When you drive it off, you know, soon as you get in and you move in, you're gonna stay flat. You know, and then number three. Let's talk about the tax rate. A lot of people have that tax jump. Yeah, you could afford it now, but when the taxes come in, they really regulate. You know, and it jumps. Some people have that sticker shock.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
so
they definitely get that.
So a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, I don't get
that tax when they
right, the tax jump up because a lot of people, if you don't know, is that most of the time new houses are just taxed the first year just based off the land.
Off the land, yep.
Yeah, the appraisal district doesn't know yet, or hadn't came inspected yet to give it an evaluation. So when it does, those taxes going to jump up, and your note's going to jump up.
Yeah, a lot of people find that out the hard way.
Right. So a lot of people are lowered to these, new houses, but I don't get it. There's a lot of cookie cutter. The only way I would do a new house is if, first of all, number one, I have rental properties that's going to facilitate the new house. Then it will be my custom house that I'll build from scratch, where it's built for me. I wouldn't let a builder sell me top price for a cookie cutter house that looks like everybody else is on the block.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. You know, the only thing I can see is the emotional choice. Like, oh, nobody's ever slept in it before. Okay, well, how do you know that, number one? And number two, I mean, all right, big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal to me, but that's like the one thing that I always hear. Nobody's ever slept in on this. It's brand new. You know,
right.
But you'll buy a used car that
right.
somebody done drove 30,000 miles or 40,000 miles in.
Somebody that sat their butt in that seat for 30, 40, 50,000, 50 miles, but y'all will buy that used BMW. You will buy that used Lexus, you know, so.
Yeah.
You know, but in a home is totally different because you're not sitting on the same furniture. All you're doing is the shell of the house.
Yeah, you're not
but you actually furniture. Sitting your butt on a literal seat that somebody else just sat on for 30, 40, 50,000 miles, but y'all don't mind that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, certain people that could distinguish and make a logical choice instead of making an emotional choice, they win. First-time home buyers, let's get into the solution aspect, and then we could go ahead and wrap it up. I like to kick out a few solutions, to make it better for first-time home buyers. I would say drop a lot of the emotion and get a little bit more logical and pragmatic about the situation. I know it's hard. A lot of people want to treat it like a car or like a new piece of clothes or something like that, but with family, financial, and life planning, you got to get real pragmatic and serious. You know, and sometimes those emotions have to get to the side, man. Especially if you want to have a good retirement, a good life, and not be going from pillar to post like my grandmother used to say back in the days. So sometimes you gotta humble yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and get what you could afford, not get what Jones, try to keep up with the Joneses, get what you could afford, make the best out of it, you know, and I'm not saying pay for something that you don't want, but pay for something you got to make compromises. Like, for example, I made compromises. This is not the house I wanted. I wanted high ceilings, I wanted this, I wanted that, but it did check a couple of my boxes. It was in a good neighborhood. It was, in a newer neighborhood. I made it me by the nice furniture I put in there. I put accent walls. I made it me by the customization that I did. You know, sometimes you got to do that, and then, like I said, I'll damn the double value. I paid $185 for it. Now it's worth $350, and I'm almost finished paying for it in less than 10 years. But it was way less than my maximum budget. That's how I was able to do that. If I'd have went max budget,
you don't even need. Some of those things you probably wouldn't even need. If you do get it in the house, you never use it, or
right.
You don't even need it. You thought you needed it.
Right. So I mean, it is what it is, man. Like I said, that's my advice. What advice would you give the first-time home buyers to avoid fear and avoid
education? Get out and research. I mean, it's a lot of places you can go to get educated on the process, on finances, on equity. I mean, there's a lot of places that you can go to get educated. Education is the key, because if you know what you can do, you know what you can do, then you don't have to worry about somebody getting over on you or anything like that. Because I mean, it's so much out there.
Well, just FYI, with the regulations that Obama put back in 2008, it's very, very hard. Predatory lending is very, very hard in the residential area. Mm-hmm. It's damn near impossible. There's so many fines and so many safe firewalls for us now. It's almost hard to get scammed.
Yeah, well, not necessarily getting scammed, but just educate yourself on, like we talking about, buying something that you can afford. Right. Educate yourself on that. When you go and get that approval, talk to that lender to see, well, I want my payment to be this, but I got approved for this. But if think about, my car is 10 years old. I'm probably gonna need another car in a couple of years. So you got to be thinking about all this. So, and a lot of people don't think about it. They think about right now. I want to get this house, $300,000. I got approved for. My house note is whatever, and okay, you need to learn. Yeah, right. I mean, you don't have all that scamming like we did before 2008. So I mean, that's good.
Right. So anywhere. I mean, the only thing I would watch out for is like some of those just internet companies that you just obscure that's over the internet that don't have any brick and mortar locations.
You see those commercials all the time.
Right. So. But other than that, I mean, pretty much if they're a financially FDIC-backed institution or, have the NMLS number where it's part of the National Mortgage System, I mean, you're pretty much in, everything's there's regulations on top of regulations.
Yeah.
So you can't, and we're priced pretty similar. I mean, service is different and certain things, there's slight differences, but you won't find that the person trying to gouge. There's no monetary value for me as a loan officer to charge you or put you in a different product or anything like that. It's all the same now. So those days are gone.
Okay.
So that Obama with the Dodd-Frank Act eliminated a lot of that stuff. So you can at least have that, rest on your laurels about that. Hey, I'm not I can't put you in a product that's gonna make me more money. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah, that you can't afford or whatever.
Right. So, those days are gone. So, but let's go ahead and wrap it up, man. It was a good build.
All right.
Barry, let me go ahead and tell them where they can find you. Go ahead, and then I'll wrap it up from there. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Okay, it's Barry Bolston with Keller Williams Professionals. 713-530-0279. Facebook is Homes by Barry B. IG is Spring Homes by Barry B. I also have a YouTube channel. So you want to buy a house. If you have a house that you were thinking about selling and you want to know get the value, you can go to freehomevalue.net. My website is www.homesbybarryb.com. So just give me a call, give me a message, and if you have any questions, I can help you out.
All right. And my name is Brandon B. Dixon. Again, I'm a published author, serial entrepreneur, mortgage broker. My book, Sales the Nucleus of Any Profession, is out right now on Amazon. Go and get you 2 or 3 copies. I guarantee you it's going to help you out, especially in this economy where it's the side hustle and multiple streams of income economy that is almost mandatory now. You can't, thou shalt not live by paycheck alone. So you're going to have to learn how to sell, and you're going to have to learn how to market. You're going to have to learn how to use that social media. It is what it is. You're going to have that digital real estate. So get my book, Sales the Nucleus of Any Profession. It preps you for that. It gives you a methodology on how to increase your sales. If you want to get a mortgage, go ahead to my website, www.applywithb.com. www.applywithb.com. .com, like the bumblebee. So go ahead, and if you want to get your mortgage together, go ahead and start that journey. I'll walk you through it. I'll get you to the finish line. I mean, right now, like I said, it's mortgage season, so the actual the fast season's about to pick up now from March, probably all the way into August, about to start rolling. So get into it now. Don't delay. Don't try to wait until midsummer. If I get your pre-qual, it's gonna last 4 months, so you need to start looking now. So get approved sooner than later. Get pre-qualified, should I say, sooner than later. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Don't forget that God is a verb, and personal responsibility is your only savior. And with that, I'm gonna say peace.